What if I told you there's a way to make a man miss you so intensely that you become the one thing he can't get out of his mind? Not just for a moment, but constantly. While he's at work, lying in bed, or scrolling through his phone. What if instead of you wondering if he's thinking about you, he's the one losing sleep, replaying every moment you've shared? Sound impossible? It's not. But here's the catch. It's not about playing mind games or following outdated dating rules. It's about understanding the deeper psychology of human connection, desire, and longing. When you grasp these principles, you won't need to chase anyone ever again. They'll chase you, not just for attention, but for the emotional fulfillment only you can provide. Let's be honest, you've probably heard the advice before. Play hard to get. Don't text back right away. Make him jealous. But how often does that lead to something real? How often does it truly make someone crave your presence? The truth is, surface-level tactics only work for surface-level connections. If you want to touch a man's heart and mind in a way that keeps him longing for you, you need something deeper, something real. This isn't about manipulation. It's about mastering yourself, your confidence, your presence, and your emotional energy. Because when you become the woman who knows her worth, values her time, and radiates authenticity, you naturally become unforgettable. And that's when he starts missing you, not just for what you give, but for who you are. So are you ready to discover how to make him miss you so badly that he can't help but chase you? Stay with me, because the secrets you're about to uncover will not only transform the way he sees you, but also how you see yourself. And trust me, once you unlock this power, there's no turning back. Let's dive in. 1. The foundation of attraction: self-respect. Here's the first truth you need to accept. If you don't respect yourself, no one else will. Self-respect isn't just a buzzword. It's the silent language that speaks louder than any flirtatious text or perfectly timed social media post. It's the way you walk into a room, the way you carry yourself in a conversation, and the way you decide who gets access to your time, energy, and heart. Think about the most captivating people you've ever met. What made them unforgettable? It wasn't just their looks, their charm, or even their kindness. It was the way they held themselves, the quiet confidence that said, "I know my worth, and I won't settle for anything less." That's self-respect, and it's magnetic. But let's get real for a second. Have you ever found yourself bending over backward for a man's attention, answering his texts immediately, rearranging your plans to fit his schedule, excusing behavior that didn't sit right with you just to keep him interested? We've all been there. It's human nature to want to feel wanted. But here's the paradox. The more you chase, the less he values you. The more you give without boundaries, the less he appreciates your presence. Why? Because people don't value what they don't have to work for. When you hand over your attention, affection, and availability without expecting respect in return, you send a message. My time and energy are not worth protecting. And if you don't protect them, why should he value them? So, self-respect starts with boundaries. Clear, unapologetic boundaries that define what you will and won't accept. It's not about being harsh or unkind. It's about honoring yourself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't align with your worth. Imagine this. A man cancels plans last minute without a real explanation. Do you brush it off, pretending it's fine while secretly feeling hurt and undervalued? Or do you calmly express that your time is valuable and you expect better communication? If he wants to spend time with you, the woman with self-respect chooses the second option, not because she's trying to teach him a lesson, but because she genuinely values her own time and energy. And guess what? That's hot. Men, like everyone else, are instinctively drawn to people who hold themselves in high regard. It signals strength, confidence, and emotional security. It says, I am whole on my own. Your presence is welcome, but it's not required for my happiness. This kind of self-respect doesn't just make a man miss you, it makes him admire you. It turns the dynamic upside down. Suddenly, he's not the one in control of your emotions. You are. And when you control your emotional energy, you become unforgettable. He starts to wonder why you're not chasing him, why you seem perfectly content without constant reassurance. That wondering, that's the beginning of longing. But self-respect goes deeper than boundaries. It's also about how you see yourself when no one else is watching. Do you speak kindly to yourself? Do you pursue your passions, dreams, and personal growth outside of relationships? Or do you put your life on hold, waiting for love to validate your worth? Here's the hard truth. A man will never respect you more than you respect yourself. If you treat yourself like an afterthought, he will too. But when you prioritize your well-being, chase your dreams, and nurture your inner world, you radiate a kind of energy that no one can ignore. You become the woman who lights up a room, not because she's trying to impress anyone, but because she's genuinely alive. And that's what makes a man miss you, really miss you. Not because you played hard to get, but because you became someone worth missing. Someone whose presence adds value, joy, and inspiration. Someone who doesn't need validation, but attracts it effortlessly. So, ask yourself, are you respecting yourself the way you deserve? Are you setting the tone for how others, including men, treat you? If not, it's time for a shift. Because the moment you start valuing yourself, the world, including the man you desire, will follow suit. Now imagine what happens when you combine self-respect with emotional independence. When you become the woman who doesn't just talk about worth, but embodies it. That's where the real magic begins. And trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. 2. The power of emotional independence. Imagine this. You meet someone new, and the connection feels electric. Texts fly back and forth. Every conversation leaves you smiling, and you start rearranging your days just to hear from him. You feel excited, hopeful, maybe even a little vulnerable. But then something shifts. His texts slow down. His attention seems to waver, and suddenly you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? Sound familiar? It happens to the best of us, and the natural reaction is to lean in even more, to send that, "Hey, just thinking about you" text, to subtly check his social media, trying to decode his silence. But here's the hard truth. The more you seek reassurance, the more he pulls away. Not because he's heartless, but because human nature is wired to value independence and to resist anything that feels like neediness. That is where emotional independence becomes your greatest power. It's not about pretending you don't care or playing aloof. It's about becoming so emotionally self-sufficient that his attention, or lack of it, doesn't shake your core. When you master this, you naturally become the woman he can't ignore. Because nothing is more attractive than someone who chooses love, but doesn't need it. Let's break this down. Emotional independence starts with one fundamental belief. You are whole with or without him. Think about it. How many times have you tied your happiness to someone else's attention? How often has your mood depended on whether he texted you back? That roller coaster of emotions isn't love, it's attachment. Attachment, unlike true connection, is built on fear. Fear of being abandoned, fear of not being enough, fear of losing what feels so good. But what if you could flip the script? What if instead of worrying about his next move, you became the woman too busy living her best life to obsess over anyone's validation? That's emotional independence. It's knowing that you're worthy of love, but perfectly fine on your own. And ironically, the moment you embrace this mindset, men start noticing you in a completely different light. Here's why. When you're emotionally independent, you radiate security. You don't send frantic texts when he goes quiet. You don't spend hours dissecting his words with your friends. You simply live fully, unapologetically, and joyfully. And that confidence, it's magnetic. Men are instinctively drawn to women who move through the world with self-assured grace. Because an emotionally independent woman doesn't just add love to a man's life. She elevates it. But let's be real. Emotional independence doesn't mean you never feel vulnerable or want connection. It means you don't collapse without it. You can desire someone without losing yourself in the process. And that balance, the ability to love while standing firmly in your own power, is what makes you unforgettable. Think about the last time you met someone who seemed genuinely content with their life. They weren't bragging about being busy or pretending to be too cool for emotions. They just were calm, centered, and grounded. That's the energy emotional independence creates, and it's the energy that makes a man sit up, take notice, and think, I can't let her slip away. Now you might be wondering, how do I cultivate this kind of independence, especially if I've always been the one who cares too much? It starts with shifting your focus inward. First, nurture your own passions. What lights you up when no one else is around? What hobbies, dreams, or goals have you put on hold while waiting for someone else's attention? Reclaim them. When you fill your life with activities that bring you joy, you naturally become less reliant on external validation. Second, practice emotional self-regulation. When anxiety creeps in, when you're tempted to double text or spiral into overthinking, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, is this about him, or is this about my own insecurities? Most of the time, it's the latter. And when you learn to soothe yourself rather than seeking comfort from someone else, you reclaim your power. Third, build a life that excites you. Romance or no romance. Travel, take that class you've been eyeing. Spend time with friends who uplift you. When your life is rich and fulfilling, love becomes a bonus, not a necessity. And trust me, men can sense the difference. Here's the most beautiful part. When you become emotionally independent, you attract relationships that are healthier, deeper, and more satisfying. Why? Because you're no longer approaching love from a place of lack. You're not looking for someone to complete you. You're inviting someone to complement you. And that distinction changes everything. So the next time you find yourself overthinking, waiting for his attention, or feeling less than because someone's affection seems inconsistent, remember this. You are enough right now, as you are. The moment you believe that, the world, including the man you desire, will believe it too. Now let's turn this insight into action. If you're committed to embracing your emotional independence and becoming the woman no man can forget, start today. Prioritize yourself, your peace, and your passions, and watch how the dynamic shifts. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video and comment number 1 if you're ready to step into your power. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that button. You won't want to miss what's coming next. 3. Scarcity. Why less is more. Have you ever noticed how the things we can't have always seem the most desirable? The limited edition handbag, the sold-out concert tickets, the job opportunity that's just out of reach. Suddenly they're all we can think about. It's human nature to crave what feels rare, valuable, and just beyond our grasp. And when it comes to relationships, the same rule applies. Scarcity creates desire. Now imagine applying that same principle to your presence. What if, instead of being constantly available, you became someone whose time, attention, and energy were luxuries? What if, instead of waiting for his text, you were too busy living your life to notice his silence? That's the power of scarcity, and it's one of the most effective ways to make a man miss you. Not because you're playing games, but because you're showing him unmistakably that your presence is a privilege, not a given. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When you give too much of yourself, your time, your energy, your emotional support, without requiring anything in return, you become ordinary in his eyes, familiar, predictable, and predictability kills attraction faster than silence ever could. It's not that men consciously take you for granted. It's that human brains are wired to prioritize what feels rare and uncertain. Think about the early days of a relationship. Every text, every call, every moment spent together feels exciting because there's an element of uncertainty. Does he like me as much as I like him? Will he text first? When will we see each other again? That anticipation creates longing. But once someone feels certain of your availability, that longing fades. So how do you create scarcity without seeming cold or distant? It starts with rebalancing the scales of attention. If you've been the one initiating every conversation, planning every date, and making yourself available at a moment's notice, it's time to step back, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Because here's the secret: the less you give, the more they crave. When you're not always the first to text, he starts wondering what you're up to. When you politely decline a last-minute invitation because you already have plans, even if those plans are just a self-care night at home, you send a powerful message. My life doesn't revolve around you. And that message, it's irresistible. But scarcity isn't just about physical presence. It's about emotional availability, too. Have you ever found yourself offering endless emotional support to someone who barely reciprocates? Listening to his problems, cheering on his successes, reassuring him when he doubts himself while your own needs go unmet. It's exhausting, and it doesn't make him appreciate you more. It makes him complacent. The solution: pull back, not in a dramatic "I'm ghosting you" way, but in a calm, self-assured way. Stop over-explaining, over-texting, and over-giving. Let him wonder what you're thinking. Let silence create space for his longing. Because when you're not constantly filling the gaps, he has no choice but to notice your absence. Absence isn't empty. It's powerful. It's the space where desire grows. Think about it. When someone is always around, you stop noticing them. But the moment they're gone, you start remembering the little things. The sound of their laughter, the way they made you feel, the moments you took for granted. That's the power of scarcity. It forces reflection. But here's where many women go wrong. They pull back, but they do it with resentment. They think, fine, if he doesn't text, I won't either. But that energy, it's still attachment. True scarcity comes from a place of self-contentment. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows her worth and doesn't need external validation to feel complete. So what does scarcity look like in practice? It looks like not answering every text immediately because you're genuinely focused on your own life. It looks like saying, I'd love to see you, but I'm busy tonight. Let's plan for another day. It looks like sharing just enough about your thoughts and feelings to build connection while keeping a little mystery alive. And that mystery, it's intoxicating. Men are wired to pursue, to conquer, to chase what feels just out of reach. When you make yourself the prize, not by pretending, but by genuinely living a fulfilling life, you trigger that instinctual desire. Suddenly he's the one wondering, why isn't she texting me back? Is she thinking about me? Who else has her attention? But scarcity isn't about manipulation. It's about balance. You're not withholding affection to punish someone. You're honoring your own time and energy. You're showing, not telling, that you value yourself enough to be selective about who gets access to your inner world. And here's the beautiful part. When you create scarcity, the connections that remain aren't just stronger, they're healthier. Because the people who truly value you will step up. They'll meet you halfway. They'll appreciate your time because they understand it's not guaranteed. So if you've been giving endlessly and wondering why he doesn't seem to miss you, it's time to shift the dynamic. Pull back, not out of fear, but out of love for yourself. Make your presence a privilege, not a default, and watch how quickly the energy changes. Because when you master the art of scarcity, you don't just make him miss you. You remind him every single day why he can't afford to lose you. Fourth, the art of mystery. Keep him guessing. Have you ever met someone who left you thinking about them long after the conversation ended? Maybe it was the way they spoke, the stories they hinted at, but didn't fully reveal, or the way they held back just enough to make you wonder, who are they really? That's the power of mystery. It's not about hiding who you are. It's about revealing yourself in layers, creating a sense of intrigue that keeps someone coming back for more. Now think about the last time you liked someone. Did you find yourself oversharing, trying to build intimacy by laying all your cards on the table? It's natural. When we're excited about someone, we want them to know us, to understand us, to feel connected. But here's the thing. Mystery is the oxygen of attraction. When you give everything away too soon, you rob the other person of the thrill of discovery. And without that thrill, interest fades. Men, like all humans, are wired to crave the unknown. It's not about manipulation, it's about biology. When something feels familiar and predictable, the brain files it away as safe but uninspiring. But when something or someone feels just out of reach, the brain lights up with curiosity. What's her story? What's she thinking? Why does she seem so confident, yet so elusive? This is why the most captivating women are the ones who don't rush to explain themselves. They share enough to build connection, but hold back enough to keep a man intrigued. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about pacing the reveal of your inner world. Think of it like a novel. If the first chapter gives away the entire plot, why keep reading? But if each chapter teases just enough to make you turn the page, you can't put the book down. So how do you cultivate this kind of mystery without feeling like you're playing games? It starts with emotional restraint. When you're excited about someone, resist the urge to overshare. If he asks about your weekend, don't launch into a detailed hour-by-hour breakdown. Instead, say, "It was great. I did something spontaneous and it ended up being the highlight of my month." Then pause. Let him wonder. Let him ask, "Wait, what was it?" And when you finally share the story, do it with the calm confidence of someone who doesn't need validation. Mystery also comes from independence. When you have a full, vibrant life outside of any relationship, you naturally become more intriguing. Why? Because you're not waiting for someone else to complete your story. You're already the main character. A woman who's passionate about her life, her dreams, and her personal growth radiates an energy that's impossible to ignore. She doesn't need to overshare because she knows her worth isn't tied to someone else's approval. But here's the tricky part. Many women mistake mystery for aloofness. They think, if I ignore him, he'll chase me. But silence without warmth just feels cold. True mystery balances connection and detachment. You respond to texts, but not instantly. You share your thoughts, but not your entire emotional landscape. You show affection, but you don't abandon your boundaries. Imagine you're on a date. He asks about your past relationships. Instead of pouring out every heartbreak and disappointment, you smile and say, "I've had experiences that taught me a lot about myself. I'm grateful for them, but I'm more excited about where I am now." Boom. You've answered the question, kept the conversation positive, and left him wondering, what were those experiences? What did she learn? Why does she seem so at peace with herself? This approach works because it flips the dynamic. Instead of you chasing his attention by oversharing, he's now leaning in, asking more, investing more. And the more he invests, the more he values you. That's the psychology of mystery. It creates an emotional gap that he instinctively wants to fill. But mystery isn't just about words. It's also about energy. Have you ever noticed how someone who's completely comfortable in their own skin feels magnetic? They don't fidget, over-explain, or seek approval. They speak with calm certainty, make eye contact without hesitation, and carry themselves like they belong in any room they enter. That's the energy of someone who knows they're worth discovering. So ask yourself, are you revealing too much too soon? Are you filling every silence with words, trying to prove your worth? Or are you letting the conversation breathe, allowing curiosity to build? The difference is subtle but powerful. When you master the art of mystery, you don't just become someone a man enjoys talking to. You become someone he can't stop thinking about. He'll replay your conversations, wonder about your thoughts, and find himself drawn to you without fully understanding why. That's the pull of the unknown, the magnetic force that keeps him coming back for more. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced the power of mystery in your relationships? Did it make someone more intrigued, more invested? Like this video and comment number 1 if you're ready to embrace your mysterious side and become unforgettable. And don't forget to subscribe, because in the next video, we're diving even deeper into the secrets of irresistible attraction. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. 5. Mastering emotional control. Picture this. You're texting a guy you really like. The conversation is flowing, the chemistry feels electric, and then silence. Hours pass. a whole day. Your mind starts racing. Did I say something wrong? Is he losing interest? Should I send another message? This emotional roller coaster is exhausting. One moment you're on top of the world, and the next you're drowning in doubt. But here's the harsh truth. The more you let your emotions control you, the less attractive you become. Not because feelings are unattractive, far from it, but because losing emotional control signals insecurity, and insecurity repels more than it attracts. Now let's flip the script. Imagine you receive that same silence, but instead of spiraling, you shrug it off. You focus on your work, hit the gym, catch up with friends, and enjoy your evening. When he finally texts you, respond casually as if you never noticed the gap. Not cold, not passive-aggressive, just unbothered. That energy, it's magnetic. It shows you're grounded, secure, and most importantly, in control of yourself. Emotional control doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means managing them in a way that protects your peace and projects confidence. When you master this, you become the woman who can navigate dating with grace, resilience, and allure. And men can't help but be drawn to that. But why does emotional control matter so much? Because relationships are emotional ecosystems. One person's insecurity triggers the other's withdrawal. One person's desperation fuels the other's detachment. It's a cycle driven by imbalance. But when you're emotionally grounded, you break that cycle. Think of it this way. A man doesn't fall for the woman who crumbles when he pulls away. He falls for the woman who stands tall, unaffected by his inconsistency. It's not about punishing him. It's about valuing your emotional well-being above fleeting attention. So how do you develop this unshakable emotional control? First, pause before you react. When something triggers you, be it a delayed text, a confusing comment, or a perceived slight, don't rush to respond. Breathe. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Most of the time, the answer is no. Responding from a place of calm rather than panic instantly elevates how others perceive you. Second, detach your self-worth from external validation. If a man's attention, or lack thereof, can ruin your day, it's a sign you've given him too much power. Remind yourself, my worth doesn't fluctuate based on someone else's behavior. The more you internalize this truth, the less reactive you become. Third, build an emotional life outside of romance. Women who struggle with emotional control often do so because they've made a man the center of their world. But when your happiness comes from multiple sources, career, friendships, hobbies, personal growth, you naturally become less dependent on any one person. And let's talk about boundaries. Emotional control also means knowing when to walk away. If someone consistently disrespects your time, energy, or feelings, the most powerful response isn't an angry confrontation. It's quiet detachment. Nothing screams self-respect louder than refusing to engage with toxicity. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of emotional control is its impact on attraction. When you're calm, collected, and self-assured, you exude a kind of quiet confidence that's irresistible. It's the energy of someone who says, I choose you, but I don't need you. Men are instinctively drawn to women who can handle life's ups and downs without falling apart. It signals strength, maturity, and independence, qualities that spark long-term desire, not just fleeting interest. And here's the irony. The moment you stop reacting emotionally is the moment he starts noticing you more. Your calmness creates a void that he feels compelled to fill. Why isn't she chasing me? Does she still care? Suddenly, you're not the one seeking reassurance. He is. But let me be clear. Emotional control isn't about manipulation. It's about self-mastery. It's about choosing peace over panic, dignity over desperation, and confidence over chaos. It's about showing up as the best version of yourself, regardless of how someone else behaves. And the best part, when you master your emotions, you don't just become more attractive, you become happier. Life feels lighter, relationships become healthier, and you finally realize that true power lies not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. So the next time you feel the urge to overreact, to send that impulsive text, or to let someone else's behavior ruin your day, pause, breathe, remind yourself, I am in control of my emotions. My peace is my priority. Because when you own your emotional world, you become the woman no man can forget. Not just because you're beautiful or charming, but because you're rare. A woman who controls her emotions controls her destiny. And nothing is more captivating than that. 6. Living your best life. The ultimate attraction. Imagine this. You meet a woman who radiates happiness. She's glowing, not because of a man's attention, but because her life is already full. She's chasing her dreams, laughing with friends, diving into hobbies, and embracing every moment like it's a gift. She's not waiting for love to complete her. She is complete. And because of that, love seems to chase her. Now ask yourself, are you living that kind of life? Or are you pressing pause, waiting for someone to make it exciting? Here's the truth. Most people won't tell you. The most attractive women are the ones already fulfilled. They don't sit by the phone waiting for a text. They don't rearrange their schedules to fit into someone else's life. They're too busy living their own. And that independence creates an irresistible pull. Men don't fall for women who orbit their world. They fall for women who are their own world. And when you become that woman, when your life becomes so rich, vibrant, and joyful that love feels like a bonus, not a necessity, that's when men start to miss you badly. But let's get real. How often have you put your own life on hold for a relationship? Skipped the gym, canceled plans with friends, stopped pursuing that dream job, all because you were so focused on keeping a man's attention. It's easy to fall into that trap. But here's the harsh reality. The more you make someone else the center of your universe, the less they value you. Why? Because people are drawn to energy, passion, and self-assurance. When you abandon your own life to prioritize someone else's, you lose the spark that made you attractive in the first place. You become predictable, and predictability breeds complacency, not desire. So how do you flip the script? How do you become the woman who turns heads? Not just because of her looks, but because of her energy. First, reclaim your passions. What lights you up? Is it painting, dancing, traveling, writing, or building a business? Whatever it is, dive back into it. Passion gives you purpose, and purpose makes you magnetic. When you're genuinely excited about life, people can feel it, even through a text message. Next, prioritize your well-being. Self-care isn't just bubble baths and face masks. It's setting boundaries, saying no to things that drain you, and investing in your mental, emotional, and physical health. When you treat yourself like a priority, others follow suit. And don't forget the power of social connection. Surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you. Go out, meet new faces, laugh until your cheeks hurt. A woman who has a vibrant social life is naturally more intriguing. Why? Because it sends a clear message. My happiness doesn't depend on one person. Now here's where it gets interesting. When you're truly living your best life, you stop obsessing over whether he's thinking about you. You're too busy thinking about yourself, your goals, your joy. And paradoxically, that's when he starts thinking about you the most. Why? Because you've created space for him to wonder, where is she? What's she up to? Why isn't she chasing me like everyone else? That curiosity turns into longing, and longing is the birthplace of desire. But don't just take my word for it. Look at the women who naturally attract attention. They're not glued to their phones waiting for validation. They're out there living. They're the ones whose Instagram stories show adventures, laughter, creativity, not passive selfies, but moments of genuine joy. And here's the kicker. Living your best life doesn't just make you attractive to men. It makes you attractive to opportunity. Career breakthroughs, new friendships, personal growth. They all flow more easily when you're operating from a place of fulfillment rather than lack. So if you've been stuck in the cycle of waiting for a text, a date, a sign that you're worthy of attention, it's time to break free. You are already worthy, not because someone says so, but because you exist. The moment you start treating your life as the masterpiece it is, everything changes. Because here's the secret most people miss. Confidence doesn't come from being desired. It comes from desiring your own life. When you wake up excited for the day ahead, when you chase your dreams with relentless passion, when you fill your own cup first, that's when the world takes notice. And yes, that includes him. The man you want will start missing you. Not because you played a game, but because you became unforgettable. Not just a woman he dates, but a woman he admires. So what's stopping you from becoming that woman? Fear, self-doubt, the comfort of familiarity. Whatever it is, let it go. Life is too short to wait for someone else to make it exciting. Now, if you're ready to stop waiting and start living, here's your first step. Like this video and comment. Number 1, if you're committed to prioritizing your happiness over anyone else's attention. And don't forget to subscribe, because in the next video, we're diving even deeper into the mindset shifts that turn ordinary women into unforgettable ones. Remember, when you love your life, others can't help but love you too. Now go out there and become the woman who doesn't just exist, but thrives. Because the moment you start living fully, that's the moment he'll start missing you badly. 7, creating emotional space. Let him feel your absence. Let's talk about one of the most counterintuitive yet powerful ways to make a man miss you. Emotional space. It's not about ignoring him, being cold, or pretending you don't care. It's about stepping back just enough to let him lean in. Because here's the truth. Absence doesn't just make the heart grow fonder. It makes the mind obsess. Think about the last time you were truly excited about something. Was it something you already had in abundance? Or was it something that felt just out of reach? Something you had to wait for, hope for, wonder about? That's exactly how emotional space works in relationships. When you're constantly present, constantly available, there's no room for longing, no space for anticipation. And anticipation is the birthplace of desire. But let's be real. It's hard to create emotional space when you really like someone. You want to be close. You want to share your day, your thoughts, your feelings, and that's beautiful, in moderation. The problem starts when your emotional availability becomes expected rather than appreciated. Imagine you're always the first to text, always the one initiating plans, always emotionally present. At first, he might love the attention, but over time, he stops noticing it. It becomes background noise, pleasant but unremarkable. But the moment you step back, the moment you stop giving so much, everything changes. He starts to feel the void you left behind, and suddenly your presence becomes valuable again. Why does this happen? Because emotional space taps into a fundamental human need, the need to pursue. It's not just about men, it's about all of us. We value what we have to work for. We cherish what feels uncertain. It's the emotional equivalent of supply and demand. When something feels abundant, we overlook it. When it feels rare, we crave it. But here's where most women go wrong. They either give too much or pull back completely in a way that feels punishing. Emotional space isn't about punishment. It's about balance. It's about showing affection without losing yourself, being present without being predictable. So how do you create emotional space without playing games? It starts with prioritizing your own life. When you're genuinely busy, pursuing your passions, spending time with friends, investing in your growth, you naturally become less available. And this isn't acting busy to make a point. It's being busy because your life is already full. Think about the energy shift here. A woman who's constantly waiting for a man's attention radiates neediness, even if she doesn't say a word. But a woman who's fully engaged with her own life radiates confidence and mystery. He doesn't know where she is, what she's thinking, or when she'll reach out. And that uncertainty, that's what keeps him thinking about you. But emotional space isn't just about physical distance. It's also about emotional restraint. Have you ever felt the urge to overshare when you're feeling insecure? To pour out your heart, hoping he'll reassure you? It's natural, but it's also counterproductive. Because when you give someone constant access to your emotional world, they stop valuing it. Instead, practice emotional pacing. Share your thoughts and feelings, but don't rush. Leave room for curiosity. If he asks how your day was, don't flood him with details. Say, "It was interesting, something unexpected happened." Then pause. Let him lean in. Let him ask for more. And when you're feeling anxious, when you're tempted to bridge the gap by reaching out, explaining or seeking reassurance, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, will this message make me feel empowered or exposed? If it's the latter, hold back. Because true emotional power comes from self-restraint, not suppression. Restraint, the ability to sit with your feelings without needing external validation. Emotional space also means knowing when to walk away. Not dramatically, not with resentment, but with quiet self-respect. If someone consistently takes you for granted, the most powerful response isn't confrontation, it's distance. Because nothing triggers reflection like absence. When you're no longer there, he has no choice but to notice the void you once filled. And here's the beautiful part. Creating emotional space doesn't just make him miss you, it makes you stronger. It reminds you that your worth isn't tied to someone else's attention. It gives you the freedom to focus on yourself, to nurture your own joy, and to attract love from a place of abundance, rather than need. But let me be clear, this isn't about winning a power struggle. It's about creating a relationship dynamic rooted in mutual respect. When you value your emotional energy, others value it too. When you show that you're not available on demand, you teach people to cherish your presence. So the next time you feel the urge to close the gap, to send the "just thinking of you" text, or to offer emotional support without being asked, pause. Ask yourself, am I giving because I want to, or because I'm afraid of losing his attention? If it's fear driving you, step back. Let him feel your absence. Let him miss you. Because here's the truth. When you master emotional space, you don't just make someone crave your presence. You inspire them to earn it. And that, more than any grand gesture or romantic word, is what makes you unforgettable. 8. Balancing connection and distance. Have you ever wondered why some relationships feel effortless while others leave you exhausted and anxious? Why does one man chase you like you're the only woman in the world, while another seems to lose interest the moment you get close? The answer lies in one powerful concept: balance, the delicate dance between connection and distance. Here's the truth most people overlook. Too much connection suffocates desire. Too much distance kills intimacy. The magic happens when you find the sweet spot where you're close enough to build emotional intimacy, but distant enough to keep the spark alive. When you master this balance, you don't just make him miss you. You make him crave your presence while respecting your independence. Let's break this down. When you like someone, it's natural to want to be close. You want to share your day, hear about his, and build a deeper bond. And that's beautiful, to a point. But here's where it gets tricky. When you invest, when you're always available, always initiating, always accommodating, you shift the balance. What started as mutual interest becomes one-sided effort. The moment he feels your presence is guaranteed, he stops valuing it. Why does this happen? Because humans, by nature, value what feels uncertain. We chase what feels just out of reach, not what's already in our grasp. It's not about being manipulative. It's about respecting the natural rhythm of attraction. Think of it like breathing. Inhale, exhale, connection, distance. When you're always inhaling, always giving, sharing, reaching out, you disrupt the rhythm. There's no space for him to lean in, to wonder about you, to miss you. And without longing, desire fades. But here's where most women go wrong. When they sense a man pulling away, they panic. They try to close the gap by chasing, over-explaining, or overwhelming. So how do you maintain the perfect balance between connection and distance? First, give without over-giving. Share your time, affection, and energy. But keep something for yourself. When you spend time together, be fully present. Laugh, connect, enjoy the moment. But when you part ways, don't immediately flood him with texts. Let the moment breathe. Let the memory linger. That silence, it's where longing grows. Next, match his energy. If he's texting daily, respond warmly, but don't initiate every conversation. If he's making plans, say yes, but don't always clear your schedule to accommodate him. When you mirror his effort, rather than overcompensating, you maintain balance, effortlessly. Another powerful tip: stay rooted in your own life. The most magnetic women are those who have passions, friendships, and goals outside of romance. When your happiness doesn't hinge on his attention, you naturally create distance, not from disinterest, but from self-respect. And that kind of independence, it's irresistible. But balance isn't just about physical space. It's about emotional pacing. When you share your feelings, do it thoughtfully. If you pour out your heart too soon, you flood the connection with intensity. Instead, reveal yourself gradually. Let him earn your vulnerability. This slow reveal keeps him invested, curious, and hooked. And don't forget the power of unexpected distance. If you've been consistently available, try pulling back slightly, not as punishment, but as a reset. Skip a phone call, take longer to reply, focus on yourself, and watch how quickly he notices the shift and how eagerly he moves to close the gap. But here's the key. Balance only works when it's authentic. If you're pretending to be busy while obsessively checking your phone, the energy doesn't lie. True balance comes from genuine self-contentment, from knowing you're enough whether he's chasing you or not. Now imagine how your relationships would change if you mastered this balance. No more anxiety, no more guessing games, just a steady rhythm of give and take, push and pull, connection and space. That's how you build not just attraction, but respect. And respect is the foundation of any love worth having. So if you're ready to stop chasing and start attracting, here's your challenge. Find your balance. Pour into the connection, but don't lose yourself. Be present, but don't hover. Love deeply, but don't abandon your independence. And if this message resonated with you, if you're ready to become the woman who effortlessly captivates, like this video and comment number 1 below. I want to know how you're reclaiming your balance. And don't forget to subscribe, because the next video will reveal how to turn this balance into lasting power in any relationship. Remember, the strongest connections are built on freedom, not dependence. So create space, hold your ground, and watch as he leans in, unable to resist the pull of your balanced, radiant energy.